You're listening to the Overcome Your Limits radio show, hosted by top motivational speaker Christopher E. Powell. We'll be bringing you thought-provoking interviews, information, and inspiration from people from all walks of life, including business, finance, education, and ordinary individuals who have conquered tremendous odds to achieve great success. Tune in regularly to get the insight, inspiration, and motivation you need to dramatically improve your life and make a difference in the lives of others. Now, here's your host, Chris Powell.
Hello, and welcome to the Overcome Challenges in the 4 Phases of Life interview series. This evening we are honored to have Dr. George C. Fraser. Dr. Fraser is chairman and CEO of FraserNet Incorporated, a company he founded 30 years ago to lead a global networking movement for people of African descent. He is considered by many to be a new voice for African Americans and one of the foremost authorities on economic development, networking, and building effective relationships. While Dr. Fraser's accomplishments are significant, his beginnings are very humble. Born in Brooklyn, New York, he was an orphan and foster child for 15 years. Dr. Fraser rose to leadership positions with Procter & Gamble, the United Way, and Ford Motor Company. He's written 5 best-selling books to include Success Runs in Our Race, Click, 10 Truths for Building Extraordinary Relationships, and most recently, Mission Unstoppable, Extraordinary Stories of Failure's Lessons, a book he co-authored with Les Brown. Upscale magazine named him one of the top 50 power brokers in Black America, and Black Enterprise magazine called him Black America's #1 networker. He's been featured on 7 national magazine covers and has received 350 awards and citations to include induction into the Minority Business Hall of Fame and Museum, 3 honorary doctorate degrees, and an ambassadorship. He's been married to Nora Jean for 42 years and has 2 sons. Dr. Fraser is most proud of the 2 African-centered charter schools he helped found, which educate nearly 300 inner-city Black children, of which 70% are boys. We are so honored to have Dr. George C. Fraser as our guest today. Dr. Fraser, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my honor, Chris, and I'm just so proud of the work that you do and what you have demonstrated around the whole idea of excellence in spite of challenges. And I am just as honored to be a part of this call with you as you have expressed your honor in having me on. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, Dr. Fraser, we are so I feel so honored and blessed to speak with you and just to get inside your mind that has so much experience over your lifetime. So one of the questions I'd like to ask is, as I understand it, when you were coming up, you didn't have much. So could you talk about those experiences?
Yeah, my father came to this country in the early 1900s from Guyana. He married a beautiful, fair-skinned sister, Ida Mae Baldwin, from Lumpkin, Georgia. They had 11 children, 8 boys and 3 girls. They lived together in a brownstone in Brooklyn, New York. My mother, when I became 3 years old, my mother became mentally ill. Because when Dad came to this country in the early 1900s as a black man, he could not get a good education, get a good job. So he was relegated to driving a New York City cab for 40 years of his life. And he had to work 12 to 14 hours a day, so he could not take care of 11 children when my mother became mentally unstable. And so at 3 years old, I was orphaned. And stayed in an orphanage from 3 to 5. And then, because nobody would take 11 children, we were broken up into threes and put into foster care. And we stayed, my sister, my older sister Emma, and I, and my younger brother Joseph stayed in foster care until we basically aged out. It was not the best foster care, which is not an indictment of foster care in America. It's just an indictment of the toxic foster care that we received as we were growing up. So these were very, very tough times. Born 1945, so I grew up basically in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so, we had to make a way out of no way. We had to find a way to move beyond our circumstances, and so it meant focusing on what it takes to get through those circumstances, rise above those circumstances, and in quote succeed in the traditional American, let's call it iconic definition of success. So, but we did it. We did it. And so in many ways, as I look back, I tell people all the time that everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way, and we will never understand that reason looking forward. We will only understand it looking backwards. That everything enters our life to prepare us for ultimately the reason that God has put us here. Each of us here have been put here with a unique purpose in mind. Chris, is a job that God has assigned only you to do, and if you do not do it, it will not get done in the universe, and we're depending upon you to find out that job, but it is a circuitous path. And so whether it is adoption, whether it is orphanages, whether it is foster care, whether it's the death of a parent, whatever your hills and valleys are, it is in preparation for your greater good, your greater work. And now that I look back over my life, I'm 72, I see how everything fits into place. And so oftentimes people ask me, Dr. Fraser, would you change any part of your life that you believe may lead you to a different or maybe even better life? And the answer is absolutely not. If I changed one thing in my life, the good, the bad, or the ugly, we would not be having this conversation. So I am grateful for the stumbles and the falls and the pits and the valleys and the hills and mountains I had to climb, the mistakes that I made, the lessons that I learned from those mistakes. I would not change one thing. It seemed painful, Chris, at the time, but now it all has come into full alignment. And I can look back and say, I am the person I am today. I have achieved what I've been able to achieve because of all of those things and the things that I had to do to survive and ultimately to thrive. And I was a very entrepreneurial kind of kid. I think much of that came out of necessity because our foster parents were very, very tight with money. There was very little they would give us other than what the state agencies gave them to give us. And so if there was something extra or something trendy or something of the times, we would have to find a way to earn and purchase that for ourselves. So I'm glad for that question. That's a great question, and I have nothing but powerful memories, some sad, some tragic, but some incredible of my life, and it's what books are all about. And so why I'm so fascinated by biographies. I read 100 books a year, and probably half of them are biographies. I love reading about the hills and valleys and challenges, mistakes and faults, and the errors and the successes that people have made to achieve, wherever they are. And this is why I so admire you, that in spite of your challenges, you have found a way to succeed and to serve and to give back and to inspire. You will be able to rest in peace, Chris, I promise you.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. Just listening to your words, I mean, as great as all the qualities that you have, I can just hear the humility in your heart and in your voice when you speak. And it's so beautiful to hear, because I know there are a lot of people that have things that I may not have, but still yet cannot find their true, they're not content, they're a little bit angry. But what I'm hearing from you is that it's so important to really appreciate and understand, in your own time, why certain things occur, and that it's all part of the bigger picture, as you mentioned. And it's so beautiful the way you put it together, and just how you're so appreciative of all the things that you have to go through that has made you become the great man that you are.
Yes, thank you. You said it better than I. You said it quicker than I. You said it eloquently and elegantly. I appreciate that. But you hit the nail right on the head. Point well made.
How would you describe your work ethic? Was that something that was instilled in you as a child, or did you acquire over a period of time?
On a scale of 1 to 10, as it relates to work ethic, Chris, in all honesty, I would put my work ethic at 12. I'm above the scale. I am a very hard worker. Part of that I can credit with my foster parents, who were very hard workers, insisted that their foster children work, insisted on for us to get any pleasure or enjoyment to go to the Brooklyn Dodgers baseball game, or to go to Coney Island, or to go out and even play, that there was work, there were assignments that we had to do every single day. We had to do them with excellence. We had to do them with discipline, and come hell or high water, if they were not done, there would be hell to pay. That instilled in our conscious and subconscious mind that work was important for reward, right? So to answer your question succinctly, yes, it was instilled in me as a child, and then it was ramped up, quite frankly, as real life got even more complicated and more difficult. It was ramped up over time. So I understood it to be very important at a very young age, and then as I matured and got older and wiser and evolved, I understood it to be even more important and placed a tremendous amount of emphasis on that. I really, really, really have low tolerance, Chris, for people that have little or no work ethic. I feel sorry for them, and I know that they will not make it in life.
And work is such a there's nothing really that you can have that's worth having that you will not struggle for, and that means work. I know today, in today's society, there's a lot of IG, instant gratification, And sometimes that's like fool's gold. A lot of people think that they have something, but they really, you're kind of cheating yourself. And I think as human beings, we know when we're cheating ourselves. You really don't feel at peace because there's no adversary, there's no struggle that comes. You're like, okay, this really wasn't what I was meant to have because I didn't have to really fight for it. So,
That's right.
I know in my case, every little small thing that I had to do, I had to work a little harder to get it done. So
yes,
I can understand completely.
Well, Chris, God has put us here to work, not to play, but to work. We're here on an assignment for a very very limited time, right? In the sands of time, even if you live to be 80, that is but a grain in the sands of time. You do not have a lot of time. I tell people this all the time. Do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, but I don't want to waste it, right? So we're here to work. That does not mean that that there should not be some play. Of course, there needs to be a work-play balance, but it is not 50-50. And from my perspective, I believe it's somewhere between 80-20, right? I believe it's 80% work, 20% play. Right? I don't believe it's 100% work and no play. And it damn sure isn't 100% play and no work, or 80% play and 10% and 20% work. No. I believe it's mostly work. But work actually can be defined, or we can look at it conceptually as a misnomer. You see, people see me all the time. They say, Dr. Fraser, you work 12 to 14 hours every day, 7 days a week. You never stop working. I said, well, that would be one way to look at it, but I don't consider what I'm doing 12 to 14 hours a day work. I consider this play. This is the thing that I truly enjoy doing. I mean, other than being with my family and my God, there's nothing on earth I'd rather be doing than the purpose-driven life and the work that is required in a purpose-driven life, right? I love what I'm doing. And I'm always thinking about it, and I can never get away from it because I love it. So I don't really see it as work because I do it effortlessly, I do it successfully, I do it effectively, I do it productively. Now, you looking outside in may say, well, my goodness, it's all the time. Now, yes, I'm enjoying myself 12 to 14 hours every single day by doing that thing that I absolutely love and feel that I will gain some significance because of it. So it just depends on how you look at it. So, I guess the metaphor we could use is whatever path that you're going down, whatever thing that you're trying to discover, that thing which gives you the greatest fulfillment, greatest joy, and greatest satisfaction. And I probably have had 40 jobs in 47 years, maybe. When I say jobs, I mean full-time jobs, part-time jobs, volunteer initiatives, work that I was doing to serve the community. I was always doing 2 or 3 things simultaneously. It's just pretty much as I'm doing now. And so I was, always busy learning and growing, and I worked at those different things. It was really part of a discovery process, Chris. I was trying to discover those things or elements of those things that I was doing that I truly enjoyed. And ultimately, at around 42, I pivoted out of corporate America, almost working, 20 years in corporate America, and started my own business doing the thing that I absolutely love, utilizing the various relationships, resources, and skills that I gathered along the way doing those things, right? So if we want to use that as a metaphor, we can say that I was building the roots for the tree that would eventually grow effortlessly. But when an acorn is planted in the ground, the hardest work the acorn has to grow into an oak tree is developing the root system, right, to support this magnificent tree that can grow 200 feet in the air. That's the hardest work the acorn has in support of the oak tree. And once it does that, it's the same thing with the bamboo tree, right? It takes almost 5 years for the bamboo tree to grow a deep enough root system to support a 24-month growth of 100 feet of a bamboo tree. And it takes, that amount of time to grow a root system for an oak tree. But once it grows the root system, the oak tree grows effortlessly to the sky, right? Effortlessly. Why does the oak tree grow effortlessly to the sky and beautifully bloomed with beautiful leaves? Because the oak tree is not trying to be a bamboo tree. And why can the bamboo tree grow 100 feet in less than 2 years effortlessly? Because the bamboo tree is not trying to be an oak tree. See, each of them knows exactly who they are, what they are, and because they know that, right, they've grown the systems to support what they are, right, they do it effortlessly. So the work that people see me doing 12 to 14 hours a day, I'm doing effortlessly with great enjoyment and great fulfillment and great significance and great satisfaction because I've built a root system. I've made the mistakes. I've had, 30, 40 jobs. I've learned a variety of different things. I read 100 books a year. I built the root system to support this, in quote, work that you see me doing, but it's really not work. I'm really playing, in a sense, right? It's my enjoyment. I love this. There's nothing I would rather be doing than this with my life. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it when it comes to work ethic.
They often say that when you love what you do, and you do it for a living, you never work a day in your life. So that's why I'm hearing from you, is that you absolutely love what you're doing, and through all of your trials and ups and downs, you kept your eyes on the prize, and I can just sense that you were so determined that no matter how long it took you, you were going to accomplish what you wanted to do, and that is so powerful. Because a lot of times, I think we base things on time, and I'm kind of guilty like myself. You feel like, well, this is going too slow, so maybe I should turn around. But no, you're right. If we all just continue to work at our own pace, and like you said, do it at our own skill, and for whatever reason, the challenges are in a way, they don't distract us. It doesn't matter necessarily when you get there, because actually make it there safer if you don't rush.
That's right. That's right, my friend. That's exactly right. Right.
How much do you think that luck plays into success? Is it just about preparation mean opportunity, or do you believe that people create their own opportunity? Do people create their own opportunities?
I think we all need a little bit of luck. No question about that. There are things that happened in my life that I can't explain why they happen in the time in which they happen, other than by defining it as luck. So I think luck is about 10% of success. About 10%. The other 90%, Chris, is preparation and meeting opportunity, where it is, and creating your own opportunity. So, there's opportunity that you will notice and observe if you're open and fearless. And then there's that opportunity in which you create because you are open and fearless. I remember as a kid needing to earn money because my allowance wasn't sufficient enough to buy the little things that little kids wanted that perhaps were trendy. And so I created opportunities to enable me to earn and to serve, right? I started a all-male babysitting service. Now remember, this is back in the 50s when babysitting was for girls. And I said to myself, well, why can't boys babysit? Girls babysit, and they earn money. Why can't boys babysit? Why don't I start a babysitting service of boys babysitting young boys? Well, I made more money than I knew what to shake a stick at, and I had to employ my brothers and sisters and allocate some of the work to them, of which I got a percentage. So I had a babysitting service of young men babysitting young boys.
Wow.
Right? I created that opportunity. Right? And then I noticed that the elderly in our community, we're talking about people at that time that were over 65, 70 years old, had a difficult time taking care of the basic house cleaning tasks in their homes. I said, well, why don't I start a house cleaning service for the elderly? I can do the windows, I can vacuum the carpet, I could wash dishes, I could cut the grass. And I started a house cleaning service for the elderly. Made more money than you could shake a stick at. I created that opportunity. And that was summertime. And then when the winter came, I noticed that the elderly had a difficult time shoveling the snow that would fall in the New York area during the wintertime. So I established a snow shoveling service for the elderly. Right? So I created opportunities. And I think that's very, very important. So luck does have a role, but preparation, even without luck, if preparation is 90% of it, even without luck, you're still going to do just fine.
Wow. Yeah, you just had an idea in your head and just put it to work.
That's right.
And that's what's amazing. I think a lot of people are stagnant when they have ideas that they think, well, maybe it's a crazy idea, but you just put it into existence. You had the idea and just made it work.
That's right.
And
I took action.
Yes.
Wow. That's right. So, a lot of people, have difficulty seeing opportunities, and there are reasons for that. And I think the reasons fall into a couple of categories. Fear. They're risk adverse. They're adverse to risk. They hold their cards very close to their chest. They want to hold stuff in. When you're holding stuff in, when your hand is closed, nothing can get out, but nothing can get in either. And I think another part of it is the friends you choose. If you have friends that are like that, who you're close to, they're close to you, pretty much you're going to be like that. All right? If you have friends that are risk adverse, if you have friends that have fear, because we're easily influenced, and we tend to follow in the direction of the people who come into our lives that we select as our friends, because we find something in them that we share and that we have in common, and a propensity to be like, and we gravitate to those like that. So typically those who only see difficulty in opportunity, or find it difficult to recognize opportunity, it's out of fear, it's out of being risk adverse, and or you're hanging with the wrong people. So the people who hung with me when I was a kid, they were like me. They worked with me. Some of them worked for me. Some of them pivoted and started their own little businesses. But the people that I chose to be around me, right, had no fear. They were not risk adverse, right, because we were a crew, a group of brothers who thought alike and were influenced by each other's behavior.
Wow. So just taking off that fear and believing in yourself and not being afraid to take a risk.
That's
yeah,
right.
Because if you don't take a risk, you're not gonna know how far you can go. I always mentioned that a couple times in my videos. I know from my own experience is that if I had just been stagnant and not tried certain things, I definitely would not have been able to accomplish, certain things that maybe others would say, just take it easy, relax, don't stress yourself. But I felt like I had needs to do more, and it paid off. I had some successes and failures, but I've had more success than setbacks. So.
Yes.
But have you ever had to dig out of a really big hole? If so, can you describe those circumstances?
The answer to your question is yes, several times. 22 years ago, for example, 7 or 8 years after I started my business about 30 years ago, I went into bankruptcy, both business and personal bankruptcy, because of a series of stupid decisions that I made. All right? It was one of the most important lessons that I learned in life. And, I started Fraser Net, and we were publishing a series of directories called Success Guide, the Networking Guide to Black Resources. We were doing them, I started in Cleveland, and these were a coffee table quality directory of black resources supported by corporate ads from the local community in Cleveland. I made a fortune in Cleveland. I was the first one on the block. Remember, this was 27 years ago. And so, it was like Black Pages was the product du jour back in those days, and this was the platinum version of Black Pages. It was, again, coffee table quality directory of beautiful photography, beautiful black people succeeding at the highest levels, very well designed. It was beautiful covers, just very, very elegant. The first of its kind any place in America. Made a fortune. Then I decided, well, if I can do it in Cleveland, I can do it in other cities. And so I went from Cleveland to 6 additional cities, a total of 7 cities. And that is called expansion, creep, and poor planning.
Mm.
So let me say it differently. When people fail in life, generally speaking, it's for one of two reasons, Chris. Speed or greed.
Mm.
Speed or greed. In my case, it was both. I tried to grow too fast and had not had the proper human resources, had done the proper recruiting in all these different cities, right? And I was greedy. I said, well, if I could make all this money in one city, imagine the amount of money the company would be able to make if we expand to 7 cities.
Right.
Speed and greed.
Mm.
And that decision put me in bankruptcy within 12 months. And I had to dig myself out of that hole. Also, because I was a very high-profile African American businessman in the greater Cleveland area, because by that time I was also a popular author because I had written Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the African American Community. I'd written that book, was a #1 bestseller, so I was somewhat of a personality in the greater Cleveland area. When I had to file bankruptcy, my picture and the story was on the front page of our daily newspaper. So it was an embarrassment, and it was a fall from grace, and I knew that I embarrassed my family, my wife, my children, and I knew that I had a very deep hole to dig myself out of.
Mm. Wow. That's that sounds very difficult. But again, I think what I mentioned before about the humility is that, you know, I feel like you could look yourself in the mirror and say, well, you know what, I may have, you know, my intentions were, you know, of course on the right track, but like you said, speed and greed may have, you know, caused some of the problems, but, you know, just to learn from those experiences, and I always try to mention to others that, you know, when you have a problem or a challenge, and your intentions are good, you know, there's always something you can learn from that, and I'm sure that's one of the things that help you to grow. And once you got past that hole that you got out of, and it just helps you to see things even more clear as you went on with your business.
That's right. No question.
Fraser, at the deepest level, what do you think is the greatest driving force for your success?
Oh, boy. That is an excellent question. At the deepest level, I think, and maybe, 100% truthful here, there are 4 critical needs that we have as human beings, as I see them. Certainty, the need for certainty. The need for variety in life. Certainly the need for love. And the need for significance. For me, I think at the deepest level, it's for significance. For significance. I remember I was being interviewed by a major television station, and the reporter asked me, Dr. Fraser, how would you like to be remembered? And no one had ever asked me that question before. And really, quite frankly, as I thought deeply about that, Chris, I began to tear up. This is the truth. And I then said to the reporter, I said, when we die, on our tombstone will be our name, the year we were born, and the year we died. In between those years will be a hyphen. That hyphen represents your entire life. Underneath the hyphen, I would love for it to be carved in stone. 2 words. He mattered. That's it. So the question for me in life, and really for anyone, is do you matter, and to whom, and for what? Have you spent your time well? Have you repaid God for giving you whatever time God has given you? Do you matter? And so at the deepest level, no one's quite asked me that question that way. It is really for significance. It is really to matter. To matter to my family, to matter to my wife of 45 years, to my children, my grandchildren, to matter to anyone that I touch. Did it matter?
Well, I can definitely attest that. Just speaking to you now, and just knowing you for the brief amount of time that I have, knowing you, which is very, very small, you've definitely mattered to me. And I know there are thousands upon thousands of others who would, probably even more than that, maybe even to millions that have been affected by your work. So, you matter. There's no doubt about that. And we're so grateful for all of your work, the tireless work that you have been doing for years to help people of, the community. So we really are so grateful for you.
Thank you.
What qualities or attributes did you need in order to raise your level of excellence from good to great? And what process did you go through to develop those qualities?
3 things. Reading, or let's put it another way, self-education. I have a high school diploma in woodworking. I have a high school diploma. I have no earned degrees. Now, somehow or another, I ended up with 3 honorary doctorate degrees, but I have no earned degrees. I have a high school diploma in woodworking, and I was a poor high school student, probably a C student, because basically what they were teaching bored me. I loved reading. I loved history. And that was all of the subjects that I loved in high school at that time, and I was not considered to be college material. So I was put into a vocational high school, and I got a high school diploma in woodworking. But that did not matter to me because I was intellectually curious, and I self-educated myself, no different than what Malcolm X did when he was in prison. He self-educated himself. I read the things that I was attracted to and that I found interesting. I read about people. I read about things that interested me. And I created a habit of reading. I think I mentioned to you earlier, I read 100 books a year. Now, granted, I travel 350,000 miles a year, and I have a lot of airport and airplane time, so I can read that many books a year, 2 books a week. But that started at a very early age. So I self-educated on specifically the things that I was fascinated by and profoundly interested in. Anybody can do that. Anything you want to know about anything in the world, you can find it in a book, in a library. You can certainly find it on Google. You can find it on the Internet. You can get free courses that they teach at Harvard, right, online, right? So self-education fundamentally led me to greatness. That's one. The second thing that led me to greatness was finding the right people to bring into my life, to add into my life, and to be a part of their lives, right? We can call it finding the right tribe, right? Now, there were some groups of people that I were part of along the way in life that just that were toxic, and I had to bless them and release them, right? But I found out quickly, and there was not a match, right? There was not a match. Some people are simply the wrong match for you. You've got to discover that quickly, and I bless them and release them. So finding the right kind of people to be influenced by was very, 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 very important and helped me move to greatness. And then the third thing is I developed a very high emotional intelligence. And you have to have a high EQ. In fact, people will discover as they grow older and wiser that your emotional intelligence, what is called your EQ, will be more important than your IQ as you grow older and wiser. This is your inability to manage your 5 most important emotions and use the management of those emotions to cultivate, nurture, and to build relationships at work, at home, and in the community, right? So developing a very high EQ so that I could work very powerfully and collaboratively with people, to attract people, to inspire people, was critical to getting things done, because you will not get it done by yourself. There's a beautiful passage in the Bible, John 5:30. It's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are not that many direct quotes from Jesus Christ, and it says, "And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing." Now this was Jesus. Jesus couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum, so most people can't get to greatness by themselves. And to develop superior interpersonal and people skills, a high emotional intelligence will make you a much more effective person as you connect the dots in life and as you collaborate in life. So said another way, said succinctly, right, that success is continually improving who you are and how you live and how you serve and how you relate. And most people will never be successful. Why? Because they do not continue to evolve. They are not committed to personal growth and development, lifelong learning, and constant, never-ending improvement. If you knew me when I was 30 years old and ran into me today, I'm an entirely different person. That person died. Right? That person died. And if you knew me at 30, then met me at 40, I was a different person at 40. The person I was at 30, 10 years earlier, died.
Right.
50, 60, 70. Life is about passages. Each passage is about 10 years. So if you want to land on greatness, you have to continually evolve. You have to have a high emotional intelligence. You have to self-educate. and you have to be around the right people.
Mm. Wow. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Oh, by far. Yes, sir. I would say that looking at my own life, I realized the growth and development. It's kind of funny how you look at your life when you're like, when I was 20, how I had changed to when I was 30, now I'm 40.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it's an evolution, you know?
It is. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's why most people, Chris, will not succeed. I want to say it again. For those who are listening, I want to tell you, why won't most people be successful? Because they do not continue to evolve.
Evolution. Powerful words. If you were speaking to a group of young people, some who were in college, some who were currently working but not in college, and some who were undecided about the future, could you name the top 3 things that you would talk with them about?
Sure. Number 1, excellence. And I would tell them, chase excellence, never chase money. Chase excellence, never chase money. When you are amazing or excellent at whatever it is you do, you will not be able to get out of the way of money. Said another way, money has a very strange way of finding excellence. Right? Chase excellence. Be the most awesome you can be at whatever you decide to be in life, which means you have to commit to personal growth and development, lifelong learning, and constant, never-ending improvement. Right? So, excellence. I would talk to them about the qualities and the formula and the algorithm for personal excellence. Huge. The second thing I would talk to them about would be equity, which requires some level of financial literacy, financial education, which we're not given. But you would have to find a way to self-educate around finances, equity, assets. In a market-based economy, in a democratic capitalistic society, it is sinful to be financially illiterate. That when you understand capitalism, you understand it's about equity and ownership. Equity and ownership. Focus on equity, having a piece of an asset, and ownership. Right? Now, you can have equity and assets. You can also have equity, from my perspective, in friendships and relationships. Friendships and relationships. One of the reasons I am where I am today is I have people available to me, like a William Patterson, like a you, Chris, and I can name a whole host of others, literally hundreds of others, who are brilliant at what they do. They are available to me as I am available to them. I could pick up the phone if I have a question, if I need something in that specific area of expertise. I can call them and I can access that. I have equity in our friendship because I have equity in them and they have equity in me. We are ready, willing, and able to share. Right? To share in a way that says, I'm not giving you this in expectation for that. Right? We share and we give without conditions, unconditionally. Right? What do I mean by that? I don't give you flowers because you gave me chocolates. That's a condition. Right? I don't necessarily love you because you love me. That's a condition for my love. No. I love you because I can. And because I find qualities in you about you that I love. So so equity in friendships and relationship is about unconditional service and giving. So I would talk to them about developing equity, not only hard assets, but equity in friendships and relationships. And then finally, I would talk to them about the power and importance of entrepreneurial thinking. I didn't say necessarily being in business or being an entrepreneur, although I think that's critical in the 21st century, but entrepreneurial thinking, which simply means you take ownership in whatever it is that you're doing in life, whether you're working in the public or private sector, whatever assignment or task you're given, you take ownership in it. It is yours. When I was mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport for 3 years while I was paying my way through college in New York City, you can go to LaGuardia Airport and you will find a plaque of me on the wall for being the best floor mopper in the history of LaGuardia Airport. Why? Because I took ownership in those floors. Those were my floors. They were going to be the best mop floors in the entire airport. I was responsible, and I had pride in my floors. I took ownership. That's entrepreneurial thinking. When you own something, you treat it differently. So entrepreneurial thinking applied to all aspects of one's life. Those are the three things I would talk to them about: excellence, equity, and entrepreneurial thinking.
Great advice. This is just an incredible experience for me just listening to you, and just the wealth of knowledge that even just the wealth of knowledge that you, and then just the experiences. I read about you when you were at the the warrior, and that you were the best at doing the floors. Wow, that just shows you, no matter where you are in life, as you said, just be the best and take pride in that.
That's
and
right.
Others will see your greatness.
That's right.
Well,
let your work speak for you. You don't have to say one thing.
Exactly.
Right? Your work, your deeds, your service, the value that you add speaks for you, which is congruent with the purpose of life. And the purpose of life, Chris, is very simple. It is to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value every minute of every day to somebody or something. That's the purpose of life.
Give. Wow. So true. Dr. Fraser, in our last couple minutes that we have, what would be a $1 million or $1 billion idea that you would like to put together that would change the world?
I'm putting it together. That's a wonderful question, by the way, because I love that question. I love that. No one's ever asked you that question, but you happen to catch me right at the moment when I'm actually putting it together, and we'll be introducing it at the Power Networking Conference next year. And I pivoted from an article I read in Wall Street Journal where it said that financial illiteracy was an American problem. And we know that if financial illiteracy is an American problem, we know that when white folks catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia. Right? So if financial illiteracy is an American problem, it's 10 times the problem in the black community. Therefore, I am proposing a series of financial education centers to be embedded in our faith-based community of 85,000 black churches in America, called WINGS. That's the centers will be called WINGS, Financial Education Centers. WINGS is an acronym meaning Wealth in the Name of God and His Son, and it will be a 5-generation initiative to place 85,000 financial education centers in historically black churches, because there are 1,500 references to money and economics in the Bible. And to teach our people everything they need to know about money, about capitalism, about the market-based economy and democratic capitalistic society that we have, and to move us out of the bad habits that we have, and to help us to understand that the goal is to win and not to look like we're winning. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it.
Right. Wow.
So that's the $1 billion idea. It will be monetized. We will call it mission-driven entrepreneurship, cause-related marketing, social entrepreneurship. Pick a term. But it is a problem for most people. They would see it as a problem. Entrepreneurial thinking does not see that as a problem. We see it as a major opportunity to monetize the solution to the problem.
Fabulous. That is just so exciting and just so inspiring to see that vision taking place. So,
thank you.
Dr. Fraser, we are just so honored and grateful for your time. I guess I'd just like to ask you if anyone would like to get in contact with you or your centers or FraserNet, how could they do so?
Oh, just email me at gfraser, F-R-A-S as in Sam, E-R, at FraserNet.com. We invite everybody that is listening to join us at our Power Networking Conference, July 4th through the 7th, in Prince George's County at the Gaylord Hotel next year in 2018. It's our 17th annual Power Networking Conference, where we discuss and we provide information, strategies, tactics, training, education, coaching, and mentoring on two subjects: business and money. Business and money. So they can visit the Power Networking Conference website at www.powernetworkingconference.com. That's www.powernetworkingconference.com. And if they're interested in a very special Chris deal, let's call it the Chris deal, email me, say, I'm interested in the Chris deal, and we will make you an offer you cannot refuse to attend the conference.
Well, I can testify I've been blessed to gone to the last two Power Networking Conference, and I had a ball, but I want to make sure I make that clear, is that my knowledge and my understanding, it grew. Because I know, Dr. Fraser, we're here on a mission to educate and to network and to get better. Not just for fun and play, but we're here to actually get down and get to work.
That's right.
And like you said, just enjoy the atmosphere as we're there. So, Dr. Fraser, we are so honored. And we thank you so much I thank you from my heart for taking this time to do this talk with us. And we just thank you so much.
God bless you, Chris Powell, and you keep doing God's work. And however you need me, whenever you need me, I'm there.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. And any way that I can help you as well, please don't hesitate.
I appreciate that. And you make sure I get a copy of this. I'm going to share it with my massive network. Cause so incredible questions. I love them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
God bless.
And thank you, William Patterson, for making this happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Overcome Your Limits radio show with motivational speaker Christopher E. Powell. Tune in regularly to get the insight, inspiration, and motivation you need to dramatically improve your life and make a difference in the lives of others. We encourage you to continue the conversation online and let us know your thoughts at overcomeyourlimits.com, as well as to sign up for our newsletter. Until next time, in the words of Chris Powell, when you possess the will to win, there are no limits that you can't overcome.